Layla, having witnessed the whole thing, was amazed. She knew Erin's strength, especially after training with her and seeing her fight before, but it always seemed like whoever she went up against was no match for her. Although she had a power level of 5, she seemed to be much stronger than that. Layla had seen a couple of level 5 users before, but they weren't this skillful in using their abilities. Erin then started to walk up to one of the students whose legs were frozen. It was the man who had let his tongue slip earlier, and Earl had given him a scolding. She placed her hand on his shoulder, and slowly the ice from his legs started to rise and cover his body. "Wait, I'll tell you everything. I don't know where Peter is. He was meant to meet us here a while ago, but he never showed up." "Why is Peter hiding?" Layla asked. "Don't tell them, Ben," Earl shouted, still stuck on the machine. "If you do, you're out of the gang." Erin then gathered another ice spear in her hand and threw it once again, this time aiming for Earl's leg. It seemed like she had thrown the spear with more force. As the spear stuck into his leg, Earl screamed in pain, and the numbers once again started to rise on the machine. This time the numbers went beyond 20 and rose up to 30. The commotion was starting to cause the attention of other students who were busy practicing away in the arena as well. 30? I've never got a number that high. Just how strong is she? But Layla knew this wasn't her full strength. At the test site, her strength alone had reached up to the number 50. She was still going easy on these students. Erin then looked at Ben and started to form another spear. "The next one goes in one of your holes, and I still need the one you're speaking from." Crazy was the only thought Ben had. Who cares if he was no longer a part of Earl's gang? As long as he worked hard in school, he could slowly move his way up the ladder. This was not worth the pain. "Wait, please. Peter, we're not sure exactly what happened, but we heard he pushed Vorden into a portal. That's all we know. We don't know why Quinn is missing as well." Of course, Earl was the one who was behind everything. He and his group had given Peter the instructions to push Vorden into the portal. When they had heard the news that 2 students were missing, and confirmed Vorden was one of them, they thought Peter had done what he asked. Unknown to them, Peter hadn't actually pushed Vorden, but Quinn instead. After hearing their answers, Erin did as she said and walked away from the group. Wait! Aren't you going to free us?" Ben shouted. "The ice will melt in a couple of hours, or maybe someone in the room with an ability can help you. That's your punishment for making me wait, instead of telling this girl what she wanted straight away." As Erin walked off, exiting out of the training center, Layla quickly followed behind her. "Thanks for that." "That wasn't for you. I just hate it when guys think they're better than us. Better show people like that their place." Although Layla didn't completely agree with Erin's methods, she knew she wasn't the type to abuse her power to those who were weaker than her. But Layla had something else on her mind. Did Peter really push Vorden into the portal? And if Quinn was missing as well, did that mean he went in after them? She dreaded the thought that there was the chance that the 2 of them could have ended up on some unknown planet. Even worse, she feared that Quinn might have grown too hungry and had no choice but to dine in on his friend. Just then, though, as the 2 of them were about to exit through the doors, the door opened inward and a familiar face was seen. It was Peter. Immediately seeing Layla standing there, Peter went running off, but Erin had reached out and grabbed him by the collar, pulling him back. She then slammed him up against the wall. Before he could even think about running away again, she placed her hands on his and started to freeze him. He was now held up in place on the wall. Seeing Peter here must have meant he was planning to meet up with Earl and the others, and judging by his strange actions, what they had said might have been true, but Layla needed to hear it from his own mouth. "Peter, tell us the truth. Did you really push Vorden into the portal?" she asked. "What are you going to do, hit me?" Peter replied. "Because trust me, I have already had my fair share of pain. Whatever you plan to do to me, go ahead. I guarantee you I have already experienced any pain you can think of." Erin then started to form a small, little, needle-shaped ice pick in her hand. "Really? I'm sure there are a few places I could stick this in which would leave you wishing you'd kill yourself." Layla then motioned for her to put the ice pick down, and was starting to think Erin had other problems. "Peter, I thought they were your friends. You know, every day Quinn would ask about how you were to me. He told me that if I ever saw anything strange, to come back to him. Why didn't you just tell him, or even just tell us what was happening?" "You don't know what would happen if I told you guys. You go beat them up, then what? They would just come back for revenge. But do you think they would go after you, Erin or Vorden? No, of course not. They would go after me. So you say you can protect me, but for how long? Could you keep an eye on me 24 hours of the day? And then what happens when I leave this academy and you guys aren't there? My whole life has already been decided for me, even before I arrived here." Peter then started to break down into tears. "I didn't want to do it. I didn't have a choice." Layla had clenched her fist and was ready to punch Peter in the face. She couldn't believe after all Quinn had done for Peter behind the scenes, and although she didn't like Vorden, she knew Vorden cared for him too. Seeing Peter's tearful face, she dropped her hand down to her side. "You're not even worth hitting, Peter. You disgust me." She then turned and walked off and had one last word. "You always have a choice." Inside one of the meeting rooms located in the first-year building, a meeting had been called. Currently sitting at the head of the table was Nathan, and by his side was Faye, who had been in charge of the investigation of the missing 2 students. As they waited, several other teachers started to enter the room. Dell, who was Vorden and Quinn's homeroom teacher, Leo, who was the beast weapons teacher, and finally Haley, the school's doctor. Nathan didn't want word to spread out about what had happened since the first-year students were his responsibility. Therefore, he called his most trusted sergeant by his side to inform them of what his plans were. "Faye, would you please inform the others of why they have been called here today?" Nathan asked. Faye then stood up with a report held in her hand. "As you have been made aware, 2 of our students have gone missing, and due to that, we have had to delay the first year's outing. However, if this was a simple missing persons case, we would not have called you all out here today." Faye then pressed a button on her controller, and a hologram appeared, revealing a certain planet, and around it there were 2 moons. The missing students seemed to have entered into a portal, but not just any portal, a red portal. The faces of the others started to drop as they heard the news. How or why we do not know, but one of the students was Vorden Blade, an original from a powerful family. The mission is not to bring him back alive, but to at least bring his body back. That way the family can say their goodbyes, and it should calm down their anger. "What about the other student?" Leo asked. "The other student is not a priority. He goes by the name of Quinn Talon, a weak level 1 with no family, or an orphan. There is no need to worry about him." "Do you know where the portal leads to?" Haley asked. "As you can see in the diagram, the red portal leads to an abandoned planet named Pyoletic. It was one of the very first planets the human race had ever created a shelter on. It was safe for the most part, but as the place was filled with weak beasts. However, that was until a year had passed and nightfall had come. Beasts stronger than we had ever seen before came and attacked the shelter. We had no choice but to abandon the place," Faye explained. "This is why we have called you 4, Nathan said as he stood up. "The 4 of you will head out through the red portal immediately. Don't worry, our latest reports say that the beasts that attacked the shelter have long since moved on. The place is mostly filled with Rataclaw scum and the odd intermediate beast here and there." Dell slammed his fist onto the table. "Why should we risk our lives for a couple of students who may have just jumped into the portal themselves? Would you like to be the one to go to the Blade family and explain to them why their son has died and gone missing? How, even though we insisted on these watches to keep track of where they are, we still weren't able to keep an eye on them?" Nathan said. "This is an order, not a request." Meanwhile, Layla was still worrying over Quinn. Now that she knew he had most likely gone through a portal, her worries only started to double. "Don't worry too much," Erin said. "If Vorden is with him, he will protect his friend. Of course, unless they went through a red portal, that is." But she was more worried that Vorden might be used as an emergency ration during the trip, more than anything. Without any food or water supplies with them, perhaps Quinn would suck him dry. As they were walking through the hallway, they noticed that a group of students were gossiping, and as they walked past, they heard Vorden's name being mentioned. "What did you say?" Layla asked. "Would you mind repeating that?" The girl looked slightly nervous, as Layla was directly in her face. "We were just talking about the missing students. Dumbo here has the ability of superhearing, and had heard in the meeting saying that Vorden was stuck on a red portal planet." After hearing those words, Layla felt her blood pressure suddenly rise. "Damn, maybe I shouldn't have jinxed it," said Erin. "Do you remember anything else? The name of the planet, if another student went with them?" Erin said, shaking Dumbo, who was standing next to the female student. Yeah, they said the planet's name was Pyoletic, and they said something about Quinn being there as well." Layla then got out of Dumbo's face and immediately started rushing towards her room. "I'm sorry, Erin, I've got to run somewhere. Thanks for all the help." I wonder what that was all about. With her 2 teammates stuck in another world and nothing else for Erin to do now, she decided she would continue training while she waited for them to return. Layla had rushed off towards her dorm room as quickly as she could after hearing about what planet they were on. As she entered the room, she locked the door behind her and placed a chair on the handle. Her roommate luckily wasn't in at the moment, which meant she was free to do what she had planned. She then bent down under her bed and pulled out a small little box. As she opened the box, a circular black sphere-shaped ball was inside. "I already checked the room for any microphones, and there didn't seem to be any," said Layla. "I guess the other families really did put pressure on them not to invade privacy so much." She then tapped the top of the sphere, and a clicking sound was heard. A white ring started to light up and went around in circles for a few seconds, before it finally completely lit up. "Agent 83, what seems to be the problem?" a voice said from the ball. "Is it to do with the mission?" "I have found someone who will be of great help in our cause. However, it appears he is stuck somewhere. Would you be able to check if there are any agents on a planet named Pyoletic?" Layla asked. "Give me a few moments. I'm afraid all our agents have left that planet a while ago. Is there anything else I can help you with?" "No, that is it, thank you," Layla said. "Then may I wish you luck in your mission. May Pure be with you." "May Pure be with you," Layla replied.
Subscribe to the Pocket FM Blockbuster YouTube channel and press the bell icon for instant notifications. Check out our channel for more exciting shows.